The subject, you are invited, subgroup 1.
Yeah, that one I have. That one I followed, I think. And
So that's the link. That's the link that I copied. That's the link that I copied at the bottom or in the body of the email or the text. I copied the link and I put it in a tab next to the tab where I am now with all of you. And
but can you send it to me, please, by email again, somebody, because I don't think I'm having the right one.
If I send you mine, I don't know if he's gonna.
So we are on in 1 minute, as far as I see.
Yes, that's correct.
Don't share the link. Katja, I will send you in a private chat your collect link. But as I said, and Xavier said before, do not have the both of them open at the same time, because it might risk
I switched off the other one.
Perfect. Okay. And I will send you the right link in
private chat.
In a private chat.
Yeah. Okay.
So 30 seconds all around. Matthias, you're on screen.
The slides, I should move them for you, Katja?
Excuse me?
Matthias, you can move the slides or I have to move them?
I think I can move them, but if I forget, please do.
Yeah, sure.
You give me the signal when I start, when we are online?
6, just see it on top, in 5.
Yeah.
Matthias, you are in the view.
So, are we online?
Yes.
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome and good morning to our co-creation session on Cluster 2, Culture, Creativity and Inclusive Society. My name is Katja Reppel. I'm Head of Unit for Democracy and European Values in the Directorate General for Research and Innovation of the European Commission. Let me just briefly remind you of the objective of the seminar that we're having. Could you please put slide 2? The objective of the workshop is to reflect on how to best achieve the expected impacts of the Horizon Europe work program for 2021 and 2022 in the context of Cluster 2. Let me start with some technical information. Could you please change the slide?
Trying to.
So the technical information, if technology finally decides to work, is please use either Chrome or Edge or Firefox. It seems that Microsoft Explorer doesn't work optimally. While you are listening, could you please mute your microphone and switch off your camera so that the system isn't overloaded? Please send your questions and comments via the chat function that you should see on the right-hand side. And later on, when we move into the breakout sessions, please either write in the chat if you want to take the floor or use the raise hand button, which should appear somewhere at the bottom right of your screen. Next slide, please. We have a total of, next slide, please. We have a total of 45 minutes. And after my short introduction to Cluster 2 in Horizon Europe and a couple of explanations on the co-creation session and 2 small check-in polls, there will be 3 breakout sessions of about 35 minutes each. And then finally, I would like you to return to the summing up in the plenary session. Can you please switch the slide to the agenda and then switch on? Yes, the agenda. And next slide, please. Let me explain you a little bit Cluster 2, what it is. It is one of 6 clusters in the so-called Pillar 1 of Horizon Europe, so the global challenges and European industrial competitiveness. The cluster and different pillars of Horizon Europe are, of course, interlinked, and many expected impacts will benefit from the support of several clusters and pillars. All this is set out in the draft regulation, and of course it depends on the budget for the period of 2021 to 27. Now, what we're discussing today in the workshop is helping us to shape up the first so-called strategic plan, which covers the years 2021 to 2024. It will set out in particular key strategic orientations, information on European partnerships, the missions, and on elements on synergies between the Horizon Europe pillars. The strategic plan also sets out so-called impact areas. In the context of Cluster 2, this would be a democratic, secure and open EU society, inclusive growth and new job opportunities, for instance. And the strategic plan also sets out the expected impacts and how research and innovation can help achieving these impacts. So we ran a survey on exactly that point, and it ran at the last moment to give us input was last Friday. So we started now to digest a bit what came out of the survey on this issue in the context of Cluster 2. And I will give you later on a very slim insight into what was the first glance into the survey results. And we hope to get from the workshop today many more insights on what you think about how research and innovation can help achieving the impacts. This then, the strategic plan, will feed into the development of the first work program, which will cover the years 2021 and 2022 and contain the definition of expected outcomes and also the project results. The finalization, of course, of all this depends on the adoption of the multi-annual financial framework and the adoption by the Parliament and the Council of the Horizon Europe regulation. With that, I would like to check a little bit who has joined us right now and move to the first poll. Can you launch the first poll? So,
Being launched.
could you please indicate for us which type of body do you represent? I'll give you a couple of minutes. Can you visualize the poll results already? I'm calling on my technical support team. Yes, you should have now the poll questions. Could you please tick which type of body you are representing? So, I hope you can see the results ticking in. Personally, I cannot see it on the screen. Right. I'm waiting for a little bit of feedback from the support team. Is there a lot of results coming in? Paco, for instance, can you see the results?
I cannot see them yet, no.
So, in order not to lose too much time, I would like to... Yes, I heard somebody wishing to take the floor. In order not to lose too much time, let's move to the second poll then. And that leads me to the question of which clusters, which of the intervention areas in Cluster 2 you're mainly interested in. Mind you, there are 3 intervention areas or goals and priorities. The first one is about enhancing democratic governance and citizen participation, expanding civic engagement, boosting transparency, accountability, inclusiveness and legitimacy of governance, and improving trust and tackling extremism. The second one is about safeguarding and promoting cultural heritage. The aim is to promote better access to and engagement with cultural heritage, arts, the creative art sectors, as drivers of sustainable innovation in a European sense of belonging. The third one is about responding to multifaceted social, economic, technological, and cultural transformations. It addresses support sustainable and inclusive growth and job creation, and helps to tackle social, economic, and political inequalities, support human capital development, foster understanding of the impacts of technological advancements and economic interconnectedness, and will support the EU migration and mobility policies while aiming to promote integration. I'm calling again on my support team to check what is the poll result. So I hope that the polls went well on your side, because now comes the technologically probably most tricky element. I would like to ask you to switch into the subgroups or the breakout sessions which are most relevant for you. You can see the links in something called handout. It should appear on your screen. And subgroup 1 is about democracy and governance. Subgroup 2 about culture, creativity, and inclusiveness. And 3 is about inclusiveness, I think. So in the order of the buttons you see on the screen. So subgroup 1, democracy and governance. Subgroup 2, culture, cultural heritage. And subgroup 3, social and economic transformations. I hope you will all manage to make the switch to the other group, to the breakout groups, and hope to find you back then at 10 past 11 in the plenary room to listen to the summing up from the breakout sessions. See you in a minute.
Yeah, but wait. I have to go to the group now.
Hello, Katia.
How you do that? Show. Donna, are you hearing?
Yes.
Oh, great. Are you ready?
Marita, do you hear me?
Yes, I do. And
Do
you?
you hear me also? I don't know where I am, to be honest.
I am in the main room. Are you
Yes.
hearing me?
Yes, perfect. Please.
Yes, but
take
I don't
over.
see you, dearest Anna.
Who sees me? Francisco. Paco, you are
Oh,
there with
Paco
me?
is here.
I'm
Yeah.
here.
Okay.
Hello, you finished your room one?
Yes, we are all. We should be all back in the main room.
Okay, I hope so because we have a very few time. How long do you think you will read Paco and Donna your conclusions?
In 1 minute, not more.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, what does it mean? Is the link above the right? Here? Above on the right. Where is above on the right? God, this is all chats. Nothing.
We hear you, Marita.
Yes, I know that you are hearing me, but somebody invited us to join the main room, and I
But
suppose
you are
that
in the main room, I think. Now.
yes,
Okay.
I suppose that we are in the main room. However, I don't know. This was a previous room. Okay. And we have to have all these things. Good. Yes. Okay. I don't see David. Ladies and gentlemen, are you hearing me? We are on the plenary and we are ready for conclusions. You cannot see me. Yes.
But we hear you.
That's very good. At least I have something which works. I lost in the meantime my video, but apparently you are hearing me and we will try to answer conclusions because the most important is not me, but the conclusions of the three working groups. And I hope that David from the socioeconomic transformations will be successful to join us soon. Thank you very much for your very interesting and spontaneous participation to the works of all these groups. And I will invite my colleague Francisco de la Torre Francia to give you the conclusions from the first subgroup on democracy and governance. Paco, please.
Sure. Thank you, Marita. Very, very briefly, maybe conclusions is too a serious word. In our group on democracy and governance, we were first reminded and informed with overall view by Katia Repel on the first outcomes that we are starting to process of the web survey concerning the impacts expected from our cluster. And then we listened to Michael Sondermann from the German Federal Minister of Research and Innovation, on which were his views on how research interventions could help reach the impact that is expected in our intervention area. In particular, I would underline from Mr. Sonderman's intervention the importance of the contextualization in the context of, or in the area of social sciences and humanities, historical and cultural perspectives to be taken into account, apart from of course, the scientific analysis that we are expecting from researchers. And a critical issue, in particular in the area of SSH, research on SSH, which is how to measure the impact. There was some exchanges around that in our domain, rather than talking about technology readiness levels, of course, we should be talking about the societal readiness levels, on which there is already some scholar work on the topic. And I would highlight, maybe to finish with, in any case, the general perception of the relevance of this intervention area, democracy and governance, in the current context, not only because of its matching with some of the political priorities of the institutions right now, but also because of the context of the post-COVID or ongoing COVID still, and the challenges that it brings to institutions, democratic institutions, and fundamental rights in Europe, as well as the project of the Conference on the Future of Europe that President von der Leyen put forward since the beginning of her mandate. I would say that's it. Maybe also to finish with the transfer of knowledge being important. I mean, what researchers will do in our area in order to reach policy deciders, society, and to involve citizens in the ongoing research. For that to happen, the program needs to think from the beginning, from the start, on the transfer of knowledge. It's not something that can be left for the finalization of the research activities projects, but be brought and embedded since point zero. I will leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paco. I see that you have had very rich and interesting discussions. Now I will move to the second subgroup on cultural heritage, and I will invite Domna Pascalidou, who is the rapporteur, to give us an overview of conclusions. Domna.
Hello, thank you, Marita, for the floor. Thank you to all our participants for their very valuable contribution to this subsession. Both the audience and our speakers have acknowledged the importance and necessity of research and innovation for the cultural heritage and the cultural and creative sector, as they contribute to better safeguarding and valorization of cultural heritage. They promote citizens' access to and engagement with cultural assets, and strengthen the innovation potential of the cultural and creative sectors as drivers of sustainable growth and job creation. Participants agreed that through investments in cultural heritage, research and innovation, Europe could increase its competitiveness, enhance social cohesion, and build a resilient society, in particular in times of crisis. Cultural heritage and the creative sectors are seen as the field where identity meets lifestyle, and old craftsmanship techniques give a new impetus to skills, industry, and job creation. It is also the domain where digital and cutting-edge technologies go hand in hand with preserving cultural assets, sharing and transmitting traditions and values. Hence, there was a unanimous appeal to strengthen citizens' engagement, integrate cultural heritage in education, and ensure sustainable financing for cultural institutions, museums, artists, and creative stakeholders through the R&I investments, and in particular during the post-COVID period. An extended cooperation of a wide set of stakeholders is also considered essential to achieve these envisaged impacts of R&I. I think that was these were the main points, and I thank again everyone who contributed. Thank you, Marita. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Domna. I was moderating this subgroup, and I know that it was very, very interesting, the discussion, mostly through chats because we challenged some problems with connections. Now let's go to the third subgroup, and I will invite our colleague Simone Rossini to give us an overview of the conclusions of your discussion. Simone, please.
Thank you very much, Marita. So I hope that everyone can hear me. Otherwise, please flag it in the chat. The breakout session on the destination on social and economic transformation was particularly lively and provided several interesting pointers concerning the two expected impacts most closely linked with it. Professor Filippetti made the opening intervention, and he focused on 4 main points. One is the framework condition, like economic crisis, the COVID crisis, but also political factors such as the European Green Deal, the Next Generation Europe under the new Commission, and their relation with their expected impacts. Then he stressed the very important role the social sciences had during the last crisis. At the beginning, it was mainly perceived as a health crisis, and indeed it was, but several domains like education, pedagogics, psychology proved very, very important to tackle the effects of the crisis. An alliance between social sciences and art sciences is also extremely useful. He stressed the cross-fertilization, and it's important in Horizon Europe in order to really have an impact. And then he made another point on the need to pursue greater risk while financing research. A lot of emphasis has to be given to green and digital transitions, and which are policy-led revolutions. And social sciences can study how to make these transitions more feasible, because indeed they create frictions, and the money invested in through Horizon Europe and through Cluster 2, and notably social and economic transitions, thereof transformations, can really make a difference. So having an approach that includes welfare, psychology, training, schools, and education. Overall, the public broadly confirmed the relevance of the expected impacts, and I have to say that the points that have been made by Professor Filippetti resonated quite well with the public. I just go and mention some key points that the participants made, and maybe some, so that we can put some further emphasis on these following aspects. The combination of expertise from various disciplines is very, very important. Several participants said that indeed the interdisciplinary approach is a precondition to understand the effects of technology, and it creates the possibility to focus and to broaden views. And also evaluation scheme needs to take into account interdisciplinary approach. There is an importance to study, to focus on behavioral studies. There is a need to look at the role of digitalization and other mega drivers of change, also in particular contexts, not only in general, but also, like, for example, the effect that digitalization can have on more dispersed areas, if it has potential to reconnect them, or to grow, to make again growth and prosperity return, or to strengthen them. It will be very important to engage different actors such as SMEs, regional ecosystems, social entrepreneurs, and other micro players in order to have an impact. Then there was a very interesting point on addressing uncertainty, because it is a word full of uncertainty, and it's important to be ready to take it into account and to deal with it in order to build resilience for the whole society. There was another intervention making the point that is important to be able to understand and cope with rural inclusion, inclusive government, and remote regions, also to have an effect on the population and the decreasing infrastructure. Some points were made on the importance of skills and on the presence of SSH from the very beginning of the process in order to have effect. And finally, the engagement of people with migration background should be taken into account because they are key in order to build societal resilience. So these were the main points. I hope to have made justice in these 2 minutes of speech to this very interesting discussion that took place.
Thank you very much, Simone. Truly very interesting from Paco, from Group Democracy and Governments, from Damna on cultural heritage, and from you, Simone, on social and economic transformations. I see it was a very rich and interesting discussion for our quickly changing societies and how we can come down to look at least on the major concerns and issues to face various directions. I will not do the summary of the summary. It is very much important. We have received a chat from one of the participants asking if these conclusions are going to be used and if they can be available somewhere. I can say that as far as we are concerned, the Commission Service is in charge of the preparation of Cluster 2 and the work program. We will use effectively all these conclusions because now we have to finalize strategic plan and we have to go towards the first work program for the first 2 years, apparently 21 and 22. But also all these conclusions from the co-creation sessions, which apply to the 6 clusters of Pillar 2 of Horizon Europe, will be used tomorrow at the conclusion session of Research and Innovation Days. I would like just to hope that you experience it a nice, pleasant, and constructive interaction during this session as we did. And we would like to thank you very much for your active and enthusiastic participation to the works of our Cluster 2 session. Look forward to meeting you soon on another opportunity and wish you very good information for other sessions which will take place today and tomorrow under their and I days. Thank you very much on behalf of all my colleagues and see you on other opportunities. Bye bye.